guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about how to prepare for those pre-employment medical coding tests. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay, so you are brand new and you're out there and they are giving you these pre-employment assessment tests for medical coding. How do you prepare for these? Well, there's actually no book about how to prepare for the pre-employment assessment tests because the employer is the one who is creating these tests. So it is going to be based on their needs, their facility. If their facility is specialized, you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to have a lot of questions about that particular specialty because they need people in that particular specialty that are going to be strong in their anatomy and pathophysiology base and their medical terminology base for that particular specialty. So that's the first part. The other part is it's very important when you are out there in the real world and you're looking for work that you are preparing yourself, that you're coming armed with everything that you need, like your books. Now, before you say, well, Blue, I don't have any books, there's plenty of places where you can find medical coding books cheap. You can look at eBay, you can look at Amazon, you can look on my favorite website for medical coding books, which is Optum360coding.com. Now, this is not an ad for them, but I will say this. Optum360 coding books are the best in my opinion. They are the ones that I trust the most because they are the most comprehensive. They do have lots of specialty books as well as the books themselves that you need to code with, and they are at a discounted rate. So be sure to check out the Optum360 coding website if you're interested in purchasing any of those books. It's very important that even if you are not working right now, that you still have a set of books that you can use for your own reference. And if you're using 2020 editions, that is totally fine. Yes, there were some updates and it would be cool if you got the 2021 editions, but if you can't afford it right now, that is totally fine. Just know that when time comes for you to be out there and you're looking for work and they give you a test, they may or they may not give you access to encoder type software so that you can look up the answers. They may just expect you to already have a set of books, okay? So just keep that in mind. But if they do, then you'll be able to look up with whatever materials that you have. So try to keep it a 2020 and later, all right? You want to make sure that it is most current. 2021 would be most preferable, but like I said, work with what you have. Now, when it comes to what to do to prepare, I always tell you guys to do the very simple, basic things, like reading your ICD-10 CM coding guidelines. You would not believe how many times I've gotten the question, well, what do you mean reading the coding guidelines? Just reading the coding guidelines? Yes, once per week. Well, I don't understand them. You don't need to understand them right now. When you're in the real world, you will start to understand them and it will start to make sense because you're going to be in the setting where these are going to be applied. So book coding in your school time is going to look a lot different from the real world. And when you are in the real world, you'll realize that. But reading the coding guidelines is going to take a lot of pressure off of you when it comes to you'll be able to be a faster reader because you've been reading the coding guidelines once per week. You don't have to do it all in one sitting, but you do need to make it a consistent thing. I was going to say consecutive. You need to make it consistent with your studies, okay? Even when you're out there looking for a job, you still need to study because when they're asking you questions, they're taking a chance on somebody that is brand new. Now, employers are willing to take a chance on brand new people. You just have to be very prepared because they know that if they're taking a chance on somebody brand new, that you're going to need training. But how much training is going to depend on how much knowledge you already have. If they see that you have a lot of knowledge and you're able to answer their questions, okay, so this person may work out. We may be able to do a lot of really good things with this person working for us, even though they have no experience. Let's go ahead and give them a try. You have to put yourselves in those positions to be able to get that chance though. If you are feeling like you're not strong on something, whether it's diagnosis coding or procedure coding or a combination of both, I do recommend that you guys get workbooks so that you can work on these things. There are lots of free websites as well. The one that I recommend is justcoding.com. Now, Blue, how does this prepare me for a pre-employment assessment test? Well, they have 5 question coding quizzes that are free. Diagnosis, outpatient and inpatient procedure coding, so that's CPT and PCS coding, that you can do on that website, and it is free when you sign up for their free subscription. They do have a paid subscription side and a free subscription side. Get to the free side, guys. Take advantage of all those free tests that they have, so that way you can work with your book and you can see, oh, okay, well, this was how they got to that, or that was how they got to this, or this is why this answer is this way. Can still continue to practice, because that way when you're ready to start and somebody is willing to take that chance on you, you won't have that, I don't know what to do, I haven't coded in over a year and a half. You know, a lot of times people will write me and tell me, Blue, I haven't coded in a year and a half. I finished my program 2 years ago and I haven't coded since then. I'm panicking, what do I do? If you had been studying the entire time, at least little by little here and there, then you would not be panicking right now, right? Guys, the reality of the situation is this. Is it going to take you a minute to get a job in medical coding? Most likely, yes. Some people do get lucky and they get hired faster. Your resume also depends on that. Can you pass a background check? That also makes a huge difference. So those are things that come into play when you're out there looking for a job. You know, sometimes people dismiss the idea of resumes and how important they are. I'm telling you guys, if you are sending out resumes that are not well written, if they are not well thought out, you're going to get passed over, and then you're not even going to get a chance to sit for a pre-employment assessment test. If you're getting those pre-employment assessment tests, they need to see where you are. That's what they're doing it for. That's why I tell you guys, there's really no way to know. The only thing that you can do is do the best that you can and make sure that you're staying up on your anatomy and your medical terminology and your coding while you are in this time where you're looking for a job. You know, cms.gov is another really good resource because they have the Medicare Learning Network. I talk about this all the time. There's free downloadable resources that you can get. Now, when you're coming in there to a new employer and you've had all of this time to be reading all of this stuff, this is what you could be telling them, that you are up on the latest and greatest that is going on out there in the world because you have been studying. And that's going to make you look a lot more attractive to these employers. So that is something else for you to know. Because sometimes on these pre-employment assessment tests, they'll be asking you HIPAA questions, or they'll be asking you about the OIG, or they'll be asking you about the differences between Medicare, Medicaid, and all of these private insurers. Just basic things. They could be asking you those things. They could be asking you to name some of the bones in the skull, to name some of the bones in the shoulders, and that kind of thing. So those are the things that you need to be aware of. Just basic things. Now, when I tell you guys about reading the coding guidelines, it's all about, you know, really setting that foundation so that you can not memorize, but that you can really start to recall better and faster. You know, that is the whole goal of it. It's not to memorize when you're reading those coding guidelines. It is to just get you familiar with the language, number one, and then the fact that you're going to be so well versed in it that you can be able to recite this stuff after a while. That is what you want. You don't want to be able to memorize because it's too much to memorize, trust me. But you do want to be able to say that you do have this background and this knowledge. Take this stuff seriously, guys, because having that idea of I don't know what these employers are looking for. If you're applying for an oncology position, then you need to be looking up oncology things. You need to be looking at the American Cancer Society page. Look for information about that. Read the neoplasm guidelines. Check that out in the ICD-10-CM guidelines. That's something that you can start with. If you're applying for an orthopedic group, same thing. Read those injury guidelines. Read the injury, read things about injuries. And go to the Medicare Learning Network. There's a lot of really good information about global days when you start talking about procedures and things like that. If you're applying for the ER, it's the same thing. Look at those injury guidelines. Look at the guidelines about hydration and IV fluids and things like that. Those are the things that you want to be looking at. If you're really serious about applying at a particular place, look at their website for their facility, and then look at everything involved in that particular specialty. If you want to do dental, great. Go to the American Dental Society website and check that out. You know, dental codes are a little bit different, and coding for dental is a little bit different because they have the CDT, and that is maintained by the ADA as well. So that is something that you need to look at specifically for that, if that is what is interesting you. But doing your research and your homework is going to help you. It's going to go a long way. But just having that basic knowledge of where are you getting your resources from. They want to make sure that, are you resourceful? They don't want somebody that they're going to have to hold their hand when they're first starting. So even if you're brand new, you still need to go in there and show that you're strong, willing to learn, and willing to have all of these different references that you use. I have seen employers ask, what references do you use? And people, the book? Okay, well, what about the Merck manual? What about your Dorland's medical dictionary if you use Dorland's? I prefer Dorland's. I also like Tabor's. Those are two of my favorites. And those are just some of the things that I use. What about the Coding Companion? The Coding Companion from Optum 360 Coding is amazing. And that is a really great resource to have, especially if you're doing specialty coding, okay? Because they have coding companions broken down by each specialty, and they have all of the diagnoses and all of the procedures that match those diagnoses and procedures together. And they talk about RVUs, and they talk about all the words that you should know. So those books are very helpful, and they can also be found on the Optum 360 Coding website. So looking at the specialty that you're applying for, you know, really going over the guidelines again to make sure that you understand is key to preparing yourself. But you're not going to know every single question when you get that test. So all you can do is just do your best. Use all your resource materials that you can, so that way they know, okay, you really did try. And if you have to, go the last to Google and see if there's any information out there, if it's something that you just do not understand. So make sure that you take all of these challenges like bull by the horns, guys. You get one rodeo, and you got to be able to do this stuff right. And if you are taking these tests and you're not passing, sometimes they will tell you and sometimes they won't tell you. If they tell you that you didn't pass, if they would be so gracious, if you could ask them, what part did I not pass? So that way I can study. That will also show them, okay, this person is interested in bettering themselves. Sometimes they will tell you and sometimes they won't tell you. It really all depends on who's doing the interviewing. But if they do tell you, get as much information from them as you can without, bothering them too much. But you just want to make sure that you are studying in the areas that you are showing your weakness in. Because right now you don't know, right? If you're taking a test and you're not passing it, what are you failing in, So that is something to think about. I've seen people who struggle like with HIPAA and things like that. HIPAA is a very good resource that you can look at freely, and it's out there. So all you have to do is just Google HIPAA. That is something that you should know. So with all of these steps in mind, you really want to set yourself up for success, because yes, some of these tests are a little bit harder and they're going to require you to know some things. But again, if you just do the best that you can and check your answers, get with a mentor and see if they can coach you through this. Find a tutor if you know that you're struggling in certain areas. And I know I keep talking about tutors, guys, but that is something that you should know. Tutoring, especially when you can find a really good tutor, can help you to have that, okay, now I get it. Because a lot of times people will say, I don't understand something, and then they just want to completely give up. You can't give up when it comes to medical coding, because this medical coding will kick you in the teeth right out of the gate. It does not care who you are or how smart you think you are. It will give you a very humble and rude awakening if you are not prepared. So that's why I'm telling you guys, make sure that you are using your references and your resources. And if you don't understand, do your research and try to find somebody that can help you with this, okay? So that is something that you need to know. And let's see, what else can I say about the job search? Well, and then, you know, going to those websites like justcoding.com, which is really great and amazing. I love them. This is not an ad for them, but I always talk about them because when I found out about their website, I was like, wow, this is really nice. I like that. So stay out of Facebook medical coding groups. If you're out there and you're looking for a job and you're in a Facebook medical coding group, they're not good for networking like they say. You're better off going through a LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn at Medical Coding with Blue. You can join me there if you wish. LinkedIn has a lot of really good resources on there. But you really do need to be careful about who you listen to when you're on those kind of websites, because sometimes people are on there because of their own motives. So you need to make sure that you're paying attention. Is this person being objective or are they being subjective? Are they giving you their own opinion, or is it because they've experienced something? That is something for you to think about. You can't just believe anything and everything that you hear from folks. You have to be able to do your own research. And I've had somebody a couple of days ago that was saying that they heard from a nurse. They heard from a nurse how much medical coders make. Guys, a nurse is not a medical coder unless they're in that capacity and they got their certification. Then that's something different. But if they are just a nurse, they are not a medical coder. They do not understand what medical coders do. So that is why anytime you're asking somebody questions, you need to ask people who are on the same path as you. Ask other medical coders. Get with the association and find a mentor, find a tutor, anybody that is in the field already. So that way you can get information from somebody who's on the ground, boots on the ground. You know, that's what you want. You don't want somebody else's opinion because it can really change things for people. I'm just saying. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up with all of that said. I hope that you've hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this, and I hope that you will share this. There will not be a Q&A Tuesday this week either. I do have another episode in mind, so I just wanted to let everybody know that. But if you do have any questions, keep them coming. Comment below and let me know, or send me an email. I will include my email address and all of my contact information in the description box below. So if you need to get a hold of me there's my information. All right, so I will see y'all on the next episode. Bye.